Do it.
Okay.
We'll do it live.
Okay. No.
We'll do it live. It. Do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live. Thing sucks.
And welcome in. It's another edition of the Daily Puck Drop. It's Jason Puckett, Jim Moore here with you. We are broadcasting live from the Puck Sports Studios, of course, built by Limback Lumber. They got free deliveries, everything from whole house packages to homeowner DIY projects, and they've got the largest stock moldings in the Northwest. Old school service because they've been doing it, folks, since 1930. Give them a call, 206-782-3487. Visit them online at limbacklumber.com. We appreciate you viewing, whether it's on YouTube or on X. Thank you for checking in. We look lovely as always. A reminder, and this is more of a reminder for those listening later on the podcast. Of course, the Puck Sports mobile app is up and running. iOS users, go to the App Store and download the Puck Sports mobile app. You can listen to the show live right at 10 a.m. And for you Android users, we sent out a link. Go to Puck 2040 on Twitter. We need I think it's 10 more people to beta test the Android app because Google, they just need 19,000 steps to go through. So first 10 people that go in, register, sign up to be beta testers for the app, you'll get a gift card from John Howie Steak. Huh? What better way to start off your Monday go-to guy than getting a $50 gift card from John Howie Steak? How are you? How was hunting this morning?
Hunting was great. Actually, I'm, as I told you before the show started, I'm nursing a little bit of a cold, so I didn't get my usual miles in this morning, but still got out and kind of let the dogs romp around a softball field a little bit. I always think of you when I'm out there on the softball field because I know that you're against dogs being out there on fields, but, the Parks Department guys were out there today, and they didn't seem to mind, and everybody has their dogs out there, so, yeah.
That's fine. Yeah, just continue to, when little Jimmy breaks his ankle because your dog has been digging a hole in the outfield, then, don't have any soft spot for that person. Yeah, why would
They're
you?
not out there digging holes.
Yeah.
They're running around chasing after balls.
Why does every dog owner say that, by the way? And I'm a dog owner. Every dog owner says the same. That's not my dog. Well, it's somebody's dog. I mean, it's someone's that's doing it.
Well, okay. All right. Fair enough. I'm not going to argue with you today. I'm fired up, man. The Cougs are 7-1.
It's someone. I said, I don't care about dogs. My biggest thing is when you let the dogs in the infield. I just don't get it. I don't get why people do
I
that.
always keep them off the infield, especially after they've dragged the infield. You can't have paw prints out there, so I do. I'm not the shittiest dog owner in the world, but I'm also not top 10. I mean, I get it.
You're kind of up there, though.
No, I mean, again, if you're the dog, I'm the best owner ever.
That's fair. Fair to say. All right. We got coming up on today's Monday extravaganza. You mentioned the Cougs. We'll get to the Cougs in just a quick second. Seahawks, so we'll talk about that game yesterday. Just embarrassing what the Seahawks put together yesterday. Jim, can you people say they can barely hear you. Is there a way you can turn up your volume? Because people are saying they can barely hear you.
Hey, the people that can barely hear me, they're not missing much anyway.
Yeah, I'm just, but it just the people are saying they can barely hear Jim Moore. I don't know. I got you cranked up pretty high, fella. Are you? Wait a minute. Are you doing? Hold on. I know what the problem is. Do you have the headphones in again backwards?
No, I don't.
Okay.
No, I can barely hear you, and so that's a good sign because when I flip them around the other way,
don't do that.
Then the microphone's away from me.
Yeah, I don't know.
So,
you're just a little low today.
A little. I'm low every day, man. I'm 67, low T. I got it all. Everything's low.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's that you're battling the cold, so maybe that's why you're just a little low today. I don't know.
I don't know. That could be, but well. What should we do? Should I take them out?
No, it's fine. No, you're good. Just speak a little louder.
Take them out, and we can do the delay thing on just the computer.
No, just speak a little louder. You're fine. You're good. Don't worry. Okay. We'll adjust on the fly. We'll get into the Seahawks. Of course, the Cougs. We'll talk about Washington. College football recap. We do our NFL wrap as well. Weekend roundup. Ground Puck Seahawks podcast comes your way at 11 o'clock. We'll talk to Curtis Crabtee and Tim Booth. We'll get the very latest from those two on the Seahawks performance. And, of course, we wrap up every show with Hey, What the Puck, as we wrap it up here on a Monday. God, I went to the game yesterday, by the way.
Oh, did you?
That's the first game I've been to in a long time. I don't think did I go to a game last year? I don't think I might have gone to a game. Yeah, it's been a bit. Yeah, that was, just shit craptastic. It was
did you
just
leave early?
I did. Yeah, left in the start of the fourth quarter. Took off.
Yeah.
Just awful.
Do you wish you hadn't gone?
No. I was there with my brother and sister. They invited me. They had, nice seats. So I was like, no, I was glad I went. Yeah, I spent majority of the time in the club level, so it was fine. It was honestly
the club level.
Yeah, so it was actually good. Basically, the first half outside, and then it was pouring rain. Seats weren't covered, and I said, we do have these club these club passes, right? It allows us to go inside. Why don't we do that?
Yeah. Get the cocktails in there, and they got
cocktail. Food options, cocktails.
Not only the weather, but what was happening on the field, and then it sounded like there were a lot of Bills fans there.
Yeah, there was a lot of. There's a lot of people bitching and moaning about how the atmosphere was there. I don't know. I can only speak for where our seats were and where we were sitting. We're in the south end zone, kind of. The crowd, maybe it's just because the crowd there is more into it than other places, but it was packed. And yeah, there were a lot of Bills fans there, but I didn't think that the fans were not into the game. Like, I'm talking about the Seahawks fans. I thought the Seahawks fans were into the game from the get-go. And obviously, once you got past halftime, they weren't, because the hometown team gave them nothing to root about. It was terrible. But yeah, there were a lot of Bills fans there. We did a pregame. We went to the Central before the game. Yeah, the whole thing was packed with Bills fans, and good for them. I talked to a lot of them. I said, hey, are you from here? No, we are from Buffalo. I would say, I'm going to generalize. I would say about the 10 people I talked to, 9 out of the 10 were from there. We're actually from Buffalo. They made this a trip. That this was on their list of games to go travel to. So, good for them.
So
they were great.
Just transplants that moved here from Buffalo. They actually just flew 3,000 miles to get out here and watch that game. So yeah, even McDermott talked about it, and one of the Bills players talked about it, and Geno even said it didn't feel like a home game at times.
Yeah, again, I thought the first half was fine. I don't know. I just, again, from my being inside there, I thought the crowd was into it. I thought they were into it from the get-go. I think on that interception, it was as loud as it's ever been. But again, when you don't score, and you can't score inside the red zone, and the crowd's just not going to. You got to give them something to root for. They're just going to sit there and root for crap, and that's what they put out there yesterday. So I would say to Geno and these other guys, play better. You want the crowd to be on your side, play better.
Hey, for a second while you were watching the game, did you feel like you were watching the Inter Bay Eagles?
Inter Bay
Eagles! No, I say that because what happened to the Seahawks yesterday on 2 plays anyway, you normally see in a kid's game, but not in a professional football game. The snap over the head, and then the quarterback. I was thinking about it too. The quarterback, why did that have to happen on 4th down when he got tripped up, just fading, going back? Why not 1st down, 2nd down, 3rd down, live to fight another day? You laugh about it later. But on 4th down, it happens.
Well, what do you mean? Like, yeah, well, just the odds of it happening. Yeah, I don't know. It just, it was just a laundry list of things that this, went just shit-tastic for those guys yesterday. They always talk about, like, the football coaches, right? They always talk about They always talk about the middle 8, right? It's the 4 minutes at the end of the half, and it's the 4 minutes to start the third quarter. It's always, it's like coaches look at that stat more than anything. And like the middle 8 yesterday was just, that's where they lost the game. The last 3 minutes of that first half was just embarrassing. You get the interception. You're stopped on 4th down. You back them up. They're at one point 2nd and long, from I think 2nd and 14 from their 3 or 4 yard line. They end up going 90 yards, and they score a touchdown that just puts them up, 14-3 at half. In that you had the penalty on Hall. You got Derek Hall and Jaron Reed getting into a fight on the field. The best part about that, and go back and watch that when they get into the fight. You know who breaks it up on the field?
One of the Bills players.
The Bills players. The Bills player are breaking up a fight between two Seahawks. That's how goddamn dysfunctional they were yesterday.
Yeah, I read a quote from the guy, and it sounded like, when the reporter asked him a question about it, he just said, yeah, man, I just told them that they were on the same team. They shouldn't be doing that. You got another play coming up here. Settle down. I didn't make too much of that, though. The heat of the moment.
Oh, those guys getting into it? No. I mean, that happens all the time. I mean, it's football. I mean,
Yeah, but clearly, I mean, that was a huge play in the game because they would have kicked a field goal there. Then you're only down 10-3. As poorly as you played in the first half, you're still within striking distance.
What did you think? I don't know. I haven't heard many people talk about this one, and I'm just wondering, and I wish I had. You know what? I'll find it for you, and we'll play it. I'm going to find the video. I'm going to play it for you. The Dalton Kincaid touchdown on that you're talking about, right? That
what, after the personal foul by Hall?
After the personal foul, yeah. I want to see. Yeah, here it is. I'm going to get this for you, and I want you to tell me if I'm overreacting to the Riq Woolen effort on it. Okay. Does that stand out to you at all about that play? Can you remember that play specifically?
I remember the touchdown, but I don't remember looking at Woolen thinking he was, half-assing it.
Yeah, well, okay. I found it, and I should have had this earlier, but and I'm gonna get. Hold on, I'm gonna get it. Hold on, it came through. I'm gonna find it for you. I'm gonna play it for you because I'm telling you, I've watched it, and I'm like, I mean, I think he's gonna go in and score. Okay. And no doubt that he's going to go and score. But I'm going to tell you, the effort level from Riq Woolen is pathetic on this play. Absolutely pathetic. But it was just a long.
You sure it just wasn't faked out?
Okay. Okay. I'm just going to. You tell me if I'm making too much of this. Hold on. I'm going to get it for you. All right. Give me 1 sec. Here it is. It's going to play right now, and it's going to be probably pretty loud.
Pressure up the middle, dancing around, throws, has a completion, and a touchdown.
What do you think of that? Am I making too much of that?
Well, are you saying he should have made a better effort at tackling
He
him?
pushes him into the end zone. Watch. He catches it there. See where he catches it? He catches it at what? The 6-yard line?
Okay.
I mean, come on. I don't think I'm making too big of a deal.
Live, but you would think he would have dove for his ankles and tripped him up.
Even if
he would have had first and goal, but he probably could have prevented the touchdown.
Okay. So even if he, and for those listening, go back and watch the video later. You'll see this effort from Riq Woolen on the Kincaid touchdown before half. Okay. Yes, you're right. Like, does he score? Probably, even if he makes an effort there and jumps up, probably. Are they first and goal at the 1 or 2? Yes. But Jesus, man, you don't shove. He gave up and just shoved him into the end zone. Come on. You can't tell me. You can't tell me.
Puck, do you really think he shoved him into the end zone?
Look, Jim, are you blind?
Okay.
That's a shove into the end zone. He shoved him into the end zone.
Okay, I'll give you that he gave up on the play, but I'm not going to go so far as to say that a Seahawks defensive back allowed a touchdown or not only allowed a touchdown, but helped him.
Jim, I love you to death. I really do. I love you so much. He pushed him into the end zone. Watch this. Jim. Look where he catches the ball. He catches it at the 7-yard line. He shoves him into the back. I mean, I can play it over and over again. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but he shoved him into the end zone. There's no debate of that.
Well, yes, Puck, There is a debate about it.
No. Okay. How is there
another angle? We need to
how is there a debate?
What
How
the replay guys in New York did, or wherever the hell they are.
Okay, those watching this right now, and I know if you're listening on the app you can't see it, but those watching, am I crazy? Did he not?
Wait a minute. Okay,
did he not push him into the end zone?
Right. Let's say you're right. Why would Woolen have shoved him into the end zone? Explain that to me. Unless he had Buffalo given 3.
I don't know, man. I don't know.
Or maybe he had over 41 or something.
Do you think he gave? Okay, first of all, we're just gonna. You don't agree with it. I think he pushed him into the end zone. Whatever.
Okay, it does look like he might have done what you're contending he did, but I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt because I don't think there's ever been in the history of the NFL another player helping the opposing player get into the end zone when he's playing defense.
Dude,
do you?
Okay, do you think he tried to tackle him?
No, he didn't.
Okay, so there. Okay, do you think?
I thought you were going to talk about his lack of effort on the play.
Do you think he made Do you think he made an effort to get Kincaid down?
Not a good enough effort for an NFL player.
Not a good enough effort. So this is what would you call this effort by Tariq Woolen? He catches it on the 7, and then Woolen lets him take 3 steps, and at the 4-yard line shoves him in the back in the end zone. That to me was the highlight of the game yesterday.
How come nobody wrote about that? I read all kinds of stories.
I just don't think
anything about Riq Woolen. Nobody talked to Macdonald about it after the game. Greg Bell didn't ask a question about it.
Well, because I just think there's so much going on during the game, and it was a quick touchdown, and I just don't think people noticed it.
Yeah, but you saw it right away, didn't you? Didn't you see it live?
No, I mean I watched it. I mean, I didn't notice it live. I watched the game when I got back home.
Okay, and then how many times did you look at it? 2 or 3 times? God, are my eyes deceiving me?
Yeah, I watched it over and over again, and I'm like, because I didn't really even notice it during the game, but then I watched it over and over again, and I'm like, boy, that was a real shit effort. And I'm not saying like if he tackles him there that he doesn't extend it over the ends. I mean, listen, it's not the biggest issue of the game yesterday, but what I do think it does is highlight, I think, a real issue with this football team. One is just effort level. Like, I'm really, really shocked with their overall team effort level.
Yeah, I haven't really seen, against Denver in the first game, remember they were flying around? I mean, everybody was flying around. They were just rallying the ball, all that stuff that coaches love. And I'm just going back to that, though, Puck. What would be, if you're right about Riq Woolen pushing Kincaid into the end zone, what would cause him to do that if you're right?
I think he gave up. I just think he gave up.
This is a bullshit scheme.
I don't know.
No wonder he's open here. Like, what would be his motivation?
I don't know. You're asking me a question I have no answer for. I'm not in Riq Woolen's head. Riq Woolen would have to answer that. What motivation did Jamal Adams last year have by not taking on a tackle at the goal line? I don't know.
Well, Jamal Adams is not a good player. So, I mean, you can chalk it up to that.
Okay.
And Jamal Adams didn't seem to give effort all the time. I'll give you that. But has Riq Woolen been known for not giving effort 100% of the time?
I mean, it's the first time.
I know he's not known for not having a good sophomore season last year, but.
Well, that was the first time that I kind of saw. I mean, I've ever seen that from him, but I just think that it was. I mean, it's that on top. What was alarming about it is I understand players going after each other. You normally, which happened before then, you normally see players go after each other like on the sideline. You don't really see it on the field. And then you don't see the opposing offensive lineman from the team breaking up the fight between 2 players on the opposing team. And then right after that, or I think it's maybe I don't know if it's right after that or 2 plays later, you've got a play over the middle and a guy who he gave up. He just flat gave up and didn't try to bring the guy down. That to me is a major red flag.
Your point, he should have dove and tripped him up. He could have tripped him up for sure before he got to the goal line. So I'll give you that. Don't you wish they had actually let him fight though? That would have been better, wouldn't it?
Oh, Hall and Reed?
Yeah, who do you think would have won that?
My money's on Hall. Hall looks like a bad motherfucker.
Yeah. and Hall's younger, and he's probably going to be more irritated about, his veteran leader giving him shit about his play. Like Derek Hall understands that he made a mistake, but it wasn't, I don't know, 10 or 15 years ago, that probably wouldn't have been roughing the passer.
Yeah. Well, you're right. Yeah. But I mean, I'm glad that Reed got in his face. He should have gotten in his face.
Yeah.
You just.
Hey, am I wrong to question this whole thing about offsetting penalties? I just don't understand that. It's always been offsetting penalties if one team commits a penalty and the other team commits one. But then now we have a degree of penalties, that supersedes, the whatever they had, illegal motion, the Bills.
Right.
And if you're going to penalize the Seahawks 15 yards for that, shouldn't you take 5 yards off of it and just penalize them 10 yards because the Bills had a penalty too?
Yeah, I'm with you. I agree. Probably. Yeah, they should change that. I'm with you.
And the other thing is that the illegal motion or whatever the Bills got called for happened before Hall's penalty.
Right.
And so I don't know. I just didn't. I didn't get that.
I think I agree with you there. I think that when it happens before, that should be the penalty. Because the play would have stopped after that. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? Like it's like it should negate anything that goes on. But whatever. I mean, we're picking it, at penalties. I mean, they're all penalties in the world that they had in that game, and they're just sloppy, and they got just absolutely dominated. But that last 3 minutes was about the worst 3 minutes of Seahawks football that I can remember in a long time. I mean, Jesus God, it's just, you're right. The snap over the head. I don't think the Enter Bay Eagles had one snap over the head this season.
Did you have any quarterbacks getting tripped up by the center?
No, we never had that. No.
And have you ever seen that happen to Geno? And why did it have to happen right then?
I don't know. I mean, there's just theories on how far he should have his foot back. They're just sloppy. I mean, that's the explanation. They're a sloppy football team that every week you just don't know what you're going to get. It's a Jekyll and Hyde team. All right, last week you're like, oh my God, here we go. They're 4-3, big win over Atlanta. And it was a big win over Atlanta. And I'm not going to take anything away from what they did to Atlanta. That was a big win. They went on the road against a team that was playing good football, and they beat them. And they did it with a banged-up defense. They just, ran into a better opponent in the Bills, who, I mean, again, were favored in the game. I don't know about other people, I didn't think they're going to win the game. I was looking for a split here these next two games, before they go into the bye. And that split's still, on the table for them. Because they can go beat the Rams next week.
How far they have to go. Like, they can still win the division. Clearly, they can still win the division, but – and you thought after that Falcons game, all right, they're on the road, they win by 20. The unpredictability of the NFL, though. I mean, look at the Falcons yesterday. They go to Tampa Bay and they win the game there. And
the Patriots beat
flying against the Seahawks.
Patriots beat the Jets. The Browns beat the Ravens. So I mean, we're telling everyone, because we are glass half full people here. Before everyone just like jumps off the boat here and freaks out, oh my God, they're terrible. Go look at the NFL yesterday and the teams that lost. I mean, the Ravens are 1,000 times better football team than the Cleveland Browns, and they lost. I mean, the Jets, I would think the Jets are better than the Patriots. They should be better than the Patriots, and they lost. I mean, it's a weird NFL season. I mean, I think unlike any NFL season that I can ever remember, it's like each week I don't know about you, I don't know who to bet on, and I've got zero clue how the game's going to go. Zero.
Well, Puck, I'm down to 0 in my account.
That does not surprise me.
I've not had a streak like this in a long time, but no, I mean, yesterday, that Hail Mary by the Commanders, I mean, the Commanders were favored by 1 in that game. So it was just, imagine betting on the Bears yesterday and losing on that one.
Did you watch, I don't know, like on your Sunday nights, do you watch like the NFL wrap-up shows and all that?
Well, I used to watch, Sylvie's show, but I can't get it down here.
No, but just like the national ones, not Sylvie's show.
Yeah, I
like
watched Scott Van Pelt last night. Okay. He had Daniels on and Brock Purdy.
Do you think we spent a little too much time? And I peeked at the morning shows today. The yelling and screaming shows that you love. I peeked in the yelling and screaming shows, and they were. I mean, have we spent a little too much time on the breakdown of a Hail Mary? on like how to the proper execution of the Hail Mary and where you're supposed to position yourself for the Hail Mary. And I mean, I got Dan Orlovsky. He's doing like this is what you're supposed to do. And here's this and here's that. I mean, it's a fucking Hail Mary. I mean, the odds of it landing are like none. I mean, it's a crapshoot. I mean, Jesus.
No, it was such it happens once in a blue moon. And so I don't blame them for focusing on that and breaking it down and doing all that. And then they were also, since you were watching the yelling show, you probably heard Greenberg talking about the coach of the Bears saying that the 12-yard gain that they got before the Hail Mary was inconsequential, that it didn't matter.
Oh, well, he's an
Greenberg
idiot.
was like, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard, because it put the Commanders in position to be able to throw it that far into the end zone.
The other dumb thing that they did was have a spy on the quarterback. Why do you have a spy on the quarterback? What is he going to do?
I don't
Going to do anything. I don't know why. I honestly, in that situation, I don't know why people sometimes just don't all out blitz up the middle. I really don't. By the time you get to the quarterback, he's not going to be able to throw it into the end zone. So just blitz him.
If they don't get there,
well,
then there'd be guys like you and me in the post-game press conference saying, "Hey, coach, why'd you blitz so many people on that? Why didn't you just lay back at a prevent?"
Yeah, but that's the beauty of what we do. We like to second guess.
Yeah. Okay. Wait a minute. Okay. So yesterday, if you were in the Seahawks locker room and you went up to Riq Woolen, how would you have approached him on that Kincaid touchdown? Because you would have wanted to ask him about that. But there's a way to do that without coming across like I usually do, like, "Hey, man, what the hell happened on that play?" That's probably how I would have gone about it.
Yeah, I don't know. How do you ask that?
How would you have approached that?
I think you got to open it up with a real kind of like softball way. Hey, Riq, what did you see, or what led to the Kincaid touchdown from your perspective?
Okay,
and
that's
then
good.
when he gives his answer, then you're like, I don't even know how you'd phrase it. Did you
God? It appeared to be a horseshit effort to me, but
yeah.
Your thoughts?
It seems like you had the Bills and the over. Is that why you shoved him into the end zone? And by the way, what do you use? Do you use DraftKings, FanDuel? Do you go off site? Who places?
Did you have Kincaid on an anytime touchdown?
Hey, Riq, do you who places the bets for you? Is it a cousin? Who is it? A family member? Like who is making the effort to put the bets in there for you? Did you see, by the way, now I'm on Riq Woolen. Did you see when he didn't play the other week, a couple of weeks ago, they showed him, he was commenting on the game, and they showed him like where he was watching. He was watching on his iPad. Here's a million guys. I mean, he's a millionaire, right? I mean, he's making the minimum, but he's made $1 million. He's watching on he doesn't have cable. He was watching on an illegal stream. What are we doing here?
God, I wish I could have been there if you'd been asking those questions yesterday and just see the look on Dave Pearson's face.
Anything else? I think it would have been a fair question. I think it would have been a fair question to Mike Macdonald. Hey, what did you think of Woolen's effort on the touchdown?
Well, and he would have just said, I didn't have a chance to take a look at the tape, and I'll have more on that Monday or whatever.
That's always my favorite. Because somebody asked him a question yesterday about Ernest Jones, who obviously made a huge impact in stopping the run yesterday. What'd you make of his performance? And he was like, I gotta watch the tape.
Yeah, I detected sarcasm there a little bit.
Yeah, he didn't. I mean, the lasting impact. I mean, I like Ernest Jones. I mean, I think he's going to be a good addition. The lasting impact is the last touchdown scored there by what's his name, and he ripped his helmet off. Yeah, Cook knocked his goddamn helmet off. Yeah. Ran over him.
Well, so much for the defensive genius, Mike Macdonald. I'm still, thinking he's a good coach.
Yeah.
Oh, God, it's pretty clear it's more about the players than the scheme, isn't it?
I would agree with you on that one, but I'm a little concerned that they just, even with the personnel he hasn't been able to really scheme anything up. Like, I don't know. It's not the worst personnel in the world, but I don't know.
Every time they hand the ball off, the opponent gets 4.9 yards on the average.
Yeah, it's terrible.
And Pete Carroll, we were ripping Pete Carroll's defense and all the defensive coordinators, Clint Hurt and all these other guys that couldn't get it done. And they're probably watching these games going, it wasn't really our issue. It's the guys that are playing on that side of the ball. That's the issue.
Well, 22nd.
I'm with you on that Baker guy. Every time I see him, I go,
oh,
he's actually
no. You mean Dotson?
He looks like a DB.
Dotson.
Oh,
you're talking about Dotson.
Okay. They got rid of Baker, right?
Yeah, Baker's gone. Dotson is the one you're talking.
Dotson is all yesterday.
What's that?
Did you miss Baker at all yesterday?
No, and I mean, I liked that Dotson gave a great effort on the Cook touchdown where he bounced it to the outside. That was great. Yeah. I mean, here's a linebacker that's untouched to fill the hole, and he's sitting in there, and he just can't make a play. I mean, he's worthless. I mean, Tyrell Dodson's not a good. They're not good at the linebackers position. They just aren't. So they're 22nd in total defense. So because we're at the halfway point of the season now. They're 22nd in total defense. They are, what are they, 31st, 30? They're 29th against the run. So again, one of the bigger reasons why you went out and made this move was you can't stop the run, and they haven't fixed that. In fact, are they worse this year? They're averaging 148 yards given up. What were they last year?
They haven't been 5 yards a carry bad. They've been bad. But last year,
they were 31st in the NFL at 138 yards a game.
Remember when Pittsburgh came in here?
Yeah.
And they just ran and ran and ran some more. And then conversely, you look at Ryan Grubb, he should run the ball more. Well, why would you continue to call running plays when you know you're not going to get anywhere?
They are basically the same last year. So this year they're 4.9, the defense. I'll get back to Grubb in a second. 4.9, but then last year they were 4.6. So, I mean, they just zero improvement on that front.
I think it's fair. It's fair to give Macdonald time to build his team, develop his culture and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But didn't you expect an uptick on that side of the ball a little bit this year?
I think it's fair to say that through 8 games, I think everybody
not dramatic, but go from 22nd to 18th, maybe.
I think it's okay to say it's not a total indictment yet, but through 8 games, I think the Mike Macdonald defense has been a massive disappointment.
Yeah. Like you wouldn't, whatever you want to say about the offense, Macdonald's a defensive guy, so you give him a break on that. And the offense has been generally good. I mean, it wasn't yesterday, but how much they missed Metcalf was part of it. The offensive line's terrible. Everybody knows that. So how do you function with that offensive line that they have? It's not going to be consistent, that's for sure.
Last year, they were giving up 23.6 points a game. Now, this year, it's 23.4. So, yeah, I mean, and I think Mike Macdonald would say it. I mean, he probably wouldn't say it publicly. He doesn't want to throw his players under the bus. But I think privately he would say that his defense has been a massive disappointment. And when you are brought in to revamp a defense and through 8 games, it's been a failure. And then on top of that, I think we go back to the first 3 games of the season. Imagine if they'd actually faced good teams. Oh. Imagine if they faced that Denver team now with Bo Nix, they'd get steamrolled. Well, I'll back it. They're not going to get steamrolled. But Bo Nix ain't going to play like that. And Bo Nix is playing really good now. But that was his first NFL start. They dumbed down the offense for him on the road. Yeah, and then the next week they get – what was the next week? Miami? Was it or was the third game? But anyways, they get the Patriots with Brissett. Yeah, and he's terrible. And then you got the Dolphins without Tua. I mean, they were gifted those first 3 games. The defensive problems were apparent then. But we put the blinders on because they started 3-0.
You're right, though. It's so funny. And you were mentioning that at the time. And I was like, oh, God, Puck, why don't you look at the bright side of things? They could be 0-3 and they're 3-0 and, what the hell. But it's funny, though, the Jekyll and Hyde thing you're talking about. It's from week to week with this team because after the Atlanta game, you sat there and you thought, hey, man, they could win this division with the 49ers having the injuries. And even though the 49ers beat you thought it's possible they could win the division this year. Yeah. And now after this game yesterday, you're thinking it's possible for them to finish last in the division.
But then this is the beauty of it. Then next week, if they beat the Rams, the Rams are like everyone's favorite team now because they got, all the players back, is if they beat the Rams next week, and I'm like, all right, 5-4, headed into the bye, get the Niners the next week. If they can knock off the Niners, all of a sudden you're in first place. I mean, I'll just go back to what I said earlier. I don't think I've ever seen an NFL season like this, where I don't know each week what the hell's going to happen, right? I just don't. I have no idea. No one saw the Browns beating the Ravens yesterday. No one. I think,
although, God, Jameis Winston, talk about an upgrade from Deshaun Watson.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Come on. If I'm a Browns fan, I'm going, I don't care how much we're paying Watson. We got to have this guy. I always liked Winston. I thought he was good with, New Orleans. Was he with Tampa Bay too?
He's just a fun personality.
Yeah. Yeah, he was the crab legs guy.
Yeah.
I mean, what the hell? But yeah, I don't know. I mean, the Seahawks are only favored by 1 over the Rams.
Yeah.
I think I'd bet on the Seahawks this next week.
Take the Seahawks -1. Did you see? I was going to bring this up with Troy, but we forgot to on Friday. Did you see how Vegas has adjusted their home, like what they do for points for home teams now?
No, I didn't know that. Is
the
it
analytic, it's not 3 anymore. It's not 3. It's 1.5.
It's 1.5 now?
1.5 is the new standard line that a home team gets.
Why is that? It seems like it would vary from home team to home team.
It's gone. It's varied over the years. That back in the day, like in the late 90s and then the 2000s, it was always 3. But now, based on analytics, I'll send you the link. Now Vegas and the people that put the analytics together now have adjusted the spread. That the starting base now is 1.5. So, How about that little nugget for you, huh?
No, I like that. Well, the Seahawks
take that to the bank.
They don't have their home field edge like they used to. I mean, not when you lose 3 games in a row. I mean, under Pete Carroll, how often did that happen?
Yeah, probably not a lot, but you're going to get a lot of blame like on fans. Fans need to stop selling their tickets and all that. And I don't know. I don't think it's, to me, again, I'm just going to base it on that one game yesterday. So again, it's just one game. Certainly there's more people out there that are watching and listening to this that have gone to more games than I have, but just where I was sitting, and maybe it's jaded because it's in that south end zone, which is always a little crazy anyways. But I don't know. The first half, I thought the fans were into it, all of them, and I mean, and more so the Seahawks fans. But I don't know if it's a fan thing. I just don't think the team is. What are they, 19-9 or 15-15 or something like that in their last 30 games? They just haven't been a good football team.
Yeah,
I mean, that's really what it is. I don't think it has anything to do with the fans.
Puck, do you think the Bills would have won yesterday, even if the Seahawks had played a cleaner game?
Yes.
I do too.
Yeah. They're just a better football team.
Yeah. But it just magnified it with the mistakes they made. I mean, they wouldn't have lost by 21.
Yeah, they just can't make those. They're not good enough to make all those mistakes. They aren't. And the problems that they have as a football team, they're not going to get better this year. And I don't know when they're going to get better. And I know it's a broken record because I feel like we talk about this stuff with the Mariners all the time. And the Mariners truly aren't going to be a serious, World Series contender until John Stanton decides to get off his ass and spend money and be serious about building and spending money. He won't. They're not going to do it. They won't. It's too hard to win the way that they're doing it. And I would say for the Seahawks, I mean, until they can improve the offensive and defensive line, they aren't going to go anywhere. They're just so weak up front. And that offensive line it's embarrassing how bad it is. And Connor Williams has not been good. The whole Bradford-Haynes thing, Bradford played the majority of the game yesterday. No, Haynes came in. Mike Jarrell in his second start was a struggle. None of them were good. I mean, this is an offense that's come out and a coordinator and a head coach that says they want to be physical and they want to run the football. They had 32 yards. They averaged 1.9 yards a carry yesterday. They had 1 rushing yard in the first half. You got a top 10 for sure running back in this league. And he had 9 carries for 12 yards. And he has had over 14 carries, Jim, one time this season. And that was in the first game against the Broncos when he had 20. In their 4 losses this year, he's averaging 10 carries and 37 yards. They can't run the football. They can't run the football because they can't run block.
Yeah, and then Ryan Grubb would probably say, well, we were behind, and so it dictated that we had to throw the ball more or whatever. But no, it doesn't matter what the situation is, who the opponent is. They're just not, like you're saying. I mean, they just can't block. And so even when you're a top 10 back in the league, if there's no room to run, like you think Derrick Henry could run behind this line?
No. I don't think anybody can run behind it.
Yeah, I don't either. So, yeah, I was thinking, I got to admit, I was thinking about our friend Rob Staten across the pond yesterday, because he's talked to you about, he doesn't want the Seahawks to be good. He wants them to be great. And because he wants to win a Super Bowl. And the Seahawks are a decent team, borderline good. Occasionally we see glimpses of great, but the consistency is never going to be there. So I think, I don't want to speak for Rob, but I guess I will anyway. I think he'd rather see him lose the rest of their games if it meant that down the road they were going to end up having a better chance of being great than just because, like, what? I mean, they have a shot at going 9-8, maybe winning the division and sneaking into the playoffs, but they're going to be like the Mariners. They'll be one and done if they get in there. So,
Yeah, but I disagree with Rob. I mean, I don't think it would be. It's better to win the division and get knocked down in the first round than go 6-10. I disagree with that.
Why?
Because it's the goal of sports is to win
or cover.
There are two rules in sports. Number one, and I think that's a debate. Number one, I think it's a debate between cover or win. I would lean towards winning, but cover's right there. No,
wait a minute. So you're saying if they were 9-8 and won the division, it'd be better than if they went 4-13 and got a better draft pick and maybe bolstered that defensive line that you want them to. Yeah. I mean, there must be some, huh?
Yes, really? I do believe it. Yeah.
I'm going to go with Rob Staten. He seems to know more about the Seahawks than you do.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you why you're both wrong. One, it's the first year of a head coach, and winning a division in your first year after you just took over from Pete Carroll is going to be better than going they're not going to lose the rest of their games, to go 6-10 and get a better draft pick. Number one, it's a terrible draft class, so that doesn't really matter this year. But no, I think impactful for the organization. I think for moving forward, for saying that the process, the decision you made to fire Carroll was the right one. To me, it's a no-brainer to me to win the division, and because that's the only way they're going to get in and get into the playoffs. And if they get knocked out in the first round, okay, they get knocked out in the first round. But I think you can hold up that carrot that helps them into the next season. That, hey, we made it in the first season, we got into the postseason. And, look where it took us, 3 years down the road. I mean, Carroll made it in his first year, didn't he?
7-9.
7-9. Do they regret making it?
No. Wasn't that the one that Charlie Whitehurst was the victorious quarterback in that last game?
Yeah. So, I mean, no, I think it would benefit them to get in. I mean, if they go
is that at least debatable as opposed to Tariq?
Well, I'm
Riq
sure
Woolen
it's
shoving Kincaid into the end zone.
Well, yeah, Riq Woolen, there is no debate. He shoved him into the end zone.
So we can at least call this debatable?
Yeah, I mean, it's just an opinion. You would rather lose the rest of the games and get a better draft pick. Is that what you're saying?
Well, yeah, because clearly this team, even though, again, we've seen glimpses of really good play from them, they're not good enough to beat a Buffalo in the Super Bowl or a Kansas City.
But no one thinks they're going to be in the Super Bowl. Are there really Seahawks fans? I mean, I don't think they're going to be in the Super Bowl. Are they good enough to sneak into the playoffs? Yeah, I think they can sneak into the playoffs. But I'm not envisioning them winning the Super Bowl.
And again, I'm talking out of both sides of my mouth because I think a week or two ago on your podcast, I was saying stuff about the NFC isn't that great. I mean, the NFC is wide open. Like, if you're in the AFC right now, you're going, well, there's no shot against KC, Baltimore, and Buffalo. You got no shot whatsoever. You'd be lucky as hell to make it to the AFC championship game. And the NFC, whoever's playing, like, let's say it's Minnesota or whoever makes it to the NFC championship game, Seattle has a good shot. There's going to be a surprising team in that NFC championship game, I think, this year that you wouldn't like. Look at the Commanders. They're 6-2. Nobody expected that.
The AFC is loaded. You're right. And I look at the NFC other than the Lions. No, I mean, if the Niners get back healthy and with McCaffrey and all those guys, then the Niners are right there as well. But other than that, no, no one's really that good. Not in the NFC other than the Lions.
No, you're right. Detroit, San Francisco is the most likely matchup right now.
Yeah, that's it. Right. Yeah, exactly. And so, I mean, but I think Seattle with all the other middle of the pack bottom feeder like teams, they're right there. I mean they played, they shot themselves in the foot a lot yesterday. And I was thinking this because I thought they would just be held to a field goal, or I thought they weren't going to go 90 yards at the end of the half. I thought, my God, if they go into half and they're down 7-3, as just as shitty as they have played, my God. I mean, it'll be a miracle. And then who knows what happens in the second half. I mean, think of all the things that went the Bills' way, all right? I mean, honestly, and I don't know if Seattle scores on this, but you got 2 red zone appearances that you come away with 3 points, right? You got a ball that looked like, the Interbay Eagles play where it goes over his head. Although, shout out to Keegan Carroll, our center. That would never happen with him. You've got Geno getting stepped on, right? Remind me, is the Josh Allen where he fumbles, is that in the third quarter or is it in that drive to end the first half? Where he fumbles and kicks the ball and the guy recovers it?
I mean, come on. But no, you're right. That play, they were lucky as hell on that.
I can't remember if that, I'm blanking.
And then they crossed the yellow line with that too. Why should that be allowed? Go ahead and give them possession,
because because they said it. He inadvertently kicked it. He didn't kick it on purpose.
I don't care if it's advertent, inadvertent. They shouldn't be allowed to cross the yellow line.
Well, but just think about that. And somebody's got to remind me. I just can't remember if that was on. I'm blanking if that was in the third quarter or if that was the drive at the end of the half where he kicked it. But anyways, think about it. I mean, just the shit that went their way. That ball should have been recovered by Seattle.
Yeah.
And 9 times out of 10, it is recovered by Seattle or by the opposing team. So you got that, and it just, so things just didn't go their way yesterday. And, after the interception there by Job, they go in there and all of a sudden it's a 10-7 game. 10-7, you have the ability to go 10-7 into the half after playing like that. I mean,
yeah. No, it's fair to wonder about that kind of stuff, especially the Josh Allen fumble. How about did you like the Geno play where he just kind of flung the ball at the Bills player and hit him in the helmet?
I thought Geno was I'll say it. I thought Geno was an ass yesterday. I think he was an ass. Okay. I really did. I think it was an ass.
Because of that play?
No, there was a bunch of them. I thought he was immature, an ass, and not a guy that I'm giving any money to yesterday. No way. There's that where he throws the ball at the guy, number one. After he got stepped on, he sprints off the field shaking his head, not wanting to talk to anyone. He's crying on the sideline, it looked like. He's yelling. There was the play, I don't know if it was one of the goal line plays where they had to call a timeout. I don't know if it's the one he got stepped on or it's when they got the field goal. But they had to take a timeout, and he's screaming at Lockett and Jackson Smith and Jigba, screaming at him. His body language has not been good for like 4 games now. This isn't just one game with him.
What was the point of having him in the fourth quarter, by the way? I mean, I know I'm a Sam Howell backer here, but you could also look at it like, even if you're a Geno Smith fan, you're down 28 with 10 minutes to go, and you got your starting quarterback out there with a chance to get hurt. I didn't understand that. And why not take a look at your backup and see what he might generate? I don't know. I found it surprising that he was out there for garbage time.
Well, you just want Hal in there so you can see how he looks.
Well, I'm starting to think that maybe we're going to see a little more of Sam Howell, especially like you're calling Geno an ass. You don't like his body language. He didn't have a great game yesterday.
I'll double the bet.
And then we can trend in that direction a little bit. If the Seahawks lose a couple more games, the season's shot. Let's give Sammy a shot.
Let's
Mike
double
Macdonald
the
press
let's,
conference. Hey,
let's
coach,
double
you're
the
planning on
bet.
making a quarterback change. Yeah, we want to take a look at Sam. Yeah, all that stuff.
Let's double the bet.
I don't want to double the bet.
Damn it.
No
Damn.
chance on doubling the bet.
Damn
but I
it.
think I saw a glimmer of hope for myself yesterday, though, with that.
Okay.
Sam
Well.
Howell in game 17, whoever they're playing, I forget who the last game was.
Rams.
Okay.
Yeah.
Be a
that'd
meaningless game.
Yeah.
Let's see what we have in Sam, and who knows? We might move on from Geno. Too much of a salary cap hit next year.
Yeah. I just think. I mean, I'm not trying to be disrespectful on it. I just thought he acted like an ass yesterday. Sorry. I mean, that's just the first thing that came to my mind. Just didn't think he played. He just was a disaster. Not even his play on the field. I'm not the interception.
Yeah, it's
just everything that went along with it.
Give him a break on that. Just frustration.
Yeah, but your quarterback is held to a higher standard. Sorry.
Okay,
sorry.
that's fine.
I just
fine.
Quarterback doesn't get that.
You criticize the guy that's going to win you $250. You just feel free. It's your show.
Well, that's true. I mean, I will thank him at the end of the year for the $250. Let's get into America's team. Not the Cougs, not their best game, Jim, but they're 7-1 and finally ranked 22nd in the country. I thought they'd be a little bit higher. I'm surprised Illinois is still in the top 25. They got their asses handed to them by Oregon, and they slipped
Illinois,
4 spots.
They were 20 going into that game. What are they now?
24th. They got murdered.
Sucked.
They're terrible.
I watched that game.
Oh, they're terrible.
They were freaking horrible.
Yeah, I cannot believe they're still ranked.
That coach they have must weigh 400 pounds too.
He's a big guy. He's a big fella.
That, like what's his name at West Virginia does. You wear that tarp and you think it hides your fat. No, and I've done that myself. So I kind of have an appreciation for it, but.
Well, they were lucky. They were lucky to get the win. Field conditions were terrible. It looked like they were playing on a Muni golf course that just punched the greens. Jesus, God.
It was
terrible.
Stevie texted me during the game, and he was just like, "God, Dad, this is like a Mickey Mouse game here." And it just seemed like it. I miss the Pac-12 so much. I mean, and that pounded at home too. Just. Seeing the crowd there was no juice. It was just, and then, I mean, I'm glad we won, so don't take me wrong on that. But yeah, I mean, we're 7-1 because of our schedule.
Oh, that's a huge part of it. Of course it is. I mean, I think most Coug fans acknowledge that, but they are what they only can play the teams that are in front of them and all that. But they're 7-1 based on the schedule that they have. But I just, I'm glad they won and I'm glad they came back. But man, there are just there still are some red flags. Defensively, they made some plays there at the end, but they don't dominate like they should because that was a bad offense. They made them look good. They can't, we talk about the Seahawks offensive line. This team cannot run block. They just cannot run the football. And you look at their rushing stats. I mean, they had 39 carries for 118 yards, but you got to peel it away and take Mateer out of it for a second. Shen Baker and Pulasi, those guys combined for 17 carries and 54 yards. They can't run the ball. And Parker, I mean, they can't get a push.
And the other two kids, okay, they're okay backs. But Parker is an above-average back. I mean, you saw it in spring ball, and for him to be shut down the way he is, I mean, that kid should be breaking off some 20-yard runs occasionally. We're not seeing that anymore.
Yeah, because I think he's tired. I think he's worn out. He's 18 years old. I think he's tired. That's what it appears to me.
Yeah, maybe so, but. No, it's been fun. I just hope that we can finish 11-1 and see what happens. And I know, if you're a Husky fan, you're going, "Well, God, look at your schedule."
It's better than being 4-4. It's better being 4-4. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, and I like our coach a hell of a lot better than theirs. At least he changed to purple. He looked a little better this week.
What did you think of, though? I mean, I think I'm talking to Dickert tomorrow. I'm going to ask him. What do you think of a Dickert going after Janikowski and Mateer like he did?
Well, that's your guy, too. You probably didn't like that.
Who's my guy?
Janikowski.
Yeah, they're all three of them are my guys. I'm just wondering.
But Janikowski's really your guy because it was the best Coug corner you ever had, sponsored by Flat Stick Pub
and the Cougar
Crimson
Collective.
Collection
By the
and all
way, you
that,
can
huh?
join the 1890 Club for as little as $18.90 a month. By the way, I don't know if people caught it, but last week, probably the best interview we've ever done on Cougs Corner. We talked to Dean Janikowski, Wazoo kicker. Talked about life. We talked about pressure. We talked about fun things away from football. He builds motorcycles. Best conversation ever. Cougs Corner, available wherever you find your podcasts.
So what, did you laugh when you saw our punter go after?
Yeah, I thought it was great. But I also like Dickert's reaction. Like, stop it. Like, I mean, my God, man. Like, you can't do that. You can't pick up a personal foul penalty. So I like Dickert getting after him. And I'll be frank, I like him getting after Mateer. I really do. And I know because I don't think Mateer was sliding, but I think Mateer got caught in between, whether he was going to slide or go down. Now, I think he kind of went into like a kind of a half slide, and I think we got a little bit bailed out on it. It didn't look like a true slide, but I do think he was giving himself up. And if you give yourself up, it's supposed to start where you give yourself up. So I agree with Dickert. Maybe he could have handled it differently. I don't know. But in that situation with the game on the line, you're a bowling ball. You have got to stick your shoulder down and get the first down, and don't make it so close. So, but I was going to ask you, have you seen the interaction? Did you see the interaction between him and Mateer in the tunnel, Dickert and Mateer? People are wondering if there's an issue between the two now.
Really?
Uh-huh.
What would the issue be?
These people just think that there was that Mateer said something to him, and then Dickert responded, and people are wondering if there was an issue between those guys.
Well, you can ask him about that.
I'm gonna ask him about it.
Yeah. Wait until you're kind of midway through the interview, though.
Oh, why? Oh.
Well, because if it doesn't go well, then the rest of the interview.
Oh, it's gonna be fine. You want me to show you I'm gonna show it to you in a second.
Okay.
If you haven't seen it, but I don't know what to make of it. If there was anything there.
Well, if you had to guess, if you had to speculate, what do you think Dickert's issue is with Mateer?
Hold on. I think it appears that Mateer says something to him about the slide in the tunnel.
Oh. And then
I don't know.
Dickert has talked about wanting him to slide more often occasionally, hasn't he?
What's that?
Hasn't Dickert talked to Mateer or talked to reporters about, yeah, we like John and his legs and what he brings to the team with that element of his game, but we also want him to be smart about it.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to take away that part of the game by putting it in his mind that he should slide more often. So that, I think you're right about Mateer in that game.
Hold on, here it is. I'm going to show you the play here, and you're going to hear Mateer say something about the slide. Okay.
Yeah, that didn't look warm.
Yeah, because Mateer goes. He goes, when I slide feet first. You got to lay off my ass. And then I don't know, they're kind of smiling, but it's kind of like, but then I don't know if Mateer says something in the hallway, because you hear Dickert go, who or what? Watch.
Who?
Oh. I don't know.
Hands to the waist there.
Yeah, there's something more there than just, hey, two guys after a game, but whatever. I mean,
maybe
Mateer.
So, but if I'm Dickert, we're not 7-1 without John Mateer. Come on.
No. And here's the deal. 1890 Club Collective. We need to make it nice, and we need to make Mateer nice and happy. Okay.
Yeah.
How about the trick play? How about the 2-point conversion? That was phenomenal. And the fact is that we dropped the ball and then picked it up and threw it.
Yeah. No, the thing is, I mean, with Dickert, I love the guy.
Yeah.
And, Mikey during the game was like, we got to fire Dickert. We got to get rid of him when we were down, 2 touchdowns or whatever. And then after the
your
game, he was like,
kid wants to fire. Your kid wants to fire Jake Dickert.
Yeah, when we were down by 12. I mean, he was at a bar in Auburn and probably hammered.
Okay, yeah.
But
Mikey, come on.
But I mean, look at Dickert. There were 2 games this year where he admitted that he was outcoached or felt like he was. This game, when he talked to reporters, he said he apologized to Janikowski afterwards for yelling at him the way he did.
Yeah.
And I mean, this guy should be up for Coach of the Year. And I know it sounds like, oh God, Coug Homer. But to be 7-1, given our weak schedule, and that's the thing too, a weak schedule works against a coach trying to motivate his team. These players came to WSU wanting to play
for sure
Arizona State and USC and UCLA, and we're not playing those teams. So subconsciously, it's harder to get the kids up for games like that, especially when you combine it with those other schools are going, oh, well, they think they're still a Pac-12 team, and we're going to show them a thing or two here.
Yeah.
And so you got all these elements that you're fighting, and Dickert has managed to navigate all of that and get us in a position where we can at least talk about the college football playoff. I don't give a shit if it's just 10%. At the end of the year, if we're 11-1 and everything falls right, we need Notre Dame to lose. I mean, we even need, heaven forbid, but we need the Huskies to beat Oregon I mean, that's probably not going to happen. But if the Huskies beat Oregon, that would really help us out.
That's not going to happen. So you can flush that one away.
I already said that.
I know, but it's not going to happen.
Maybe you didn't hear me because I'm not sounding right today.
There's just no chance that Washington's beating Oregon.
Okay, but when you go back and you post this later, can you turn up my volume on that? Because I already said that's not going to happen.
No, well, I just want to make sure that everyone understands that's not going to happen.
Well, maybe, if Oregon plays like the Seahawks did yesterday.
That's not going to happen. Did you watch them play against Indiana?
Every opponent, they should be.
Well, they are undefeated. They will. I'm told the banner is going to be hung next fall for the "We outgained our opponents all year long" 2024, and we were undefeated.
Yeah. Okay. Well, before you go to the ground puck, guys, can you do something for me? And I'll tee it up for you. All right. The Huskies are playing USC this week, and you know what that means? Jen Cohen's coming back to town.
Oh, is she coming home? Oh, yes. It wasn't this bad when I was here. When I was here, we were winning games. And look at me now. I've been in the sunshine. I've been
purple and gold.
I've been laying off carbs. I'm brought to you by Ozempic. Look at me. I'm back. Hey, before you go. Hold on before you go. Are you going to bet on – I want you to bet on the Monday night game tonight, and I want to lay the points and take the Steelers, okay? You want to know why?
No chance.
He's back. He's back. He's back. Look at him. He's making cheesy videos again. This motherfucker's back, and he's going to go for 400 tonight. He's back. Look at him. Well, look at her more than anything.
I'm looking at him. I'm looking at his wife.
He's back. He's posting videos. He's shooting. That's the Roberto Clemente bridge. He's shooting late night videos on the Clemente bridge. He's back. Steelers 31, Giants 3. Wilson 28 of 29. 300 and they don't throw the ball that well, but fucking 375 yards.
Tonight. Screw Russell Wilson.
How much do you want?
Phony.
How much do you want?
Phony.
Give me the Steelers. Give me the Steelers -6 tonight for 100.
You want to make that bet?
Yeah, I just said it. Remember, go back maybe later and turn up your volume.
Yeah, but my AirPods aren't working that well.
Steelers -6.
I'll take the Giants in 6. Danny Dimes. You know what? You're a fucking idiot. You know why? You bet against the Giants with the Seahawks.
Yeah.
You remember that?
Give it to me. Steelers -6.
Name the sports personality in Seattle who lost $200 betting against the Giants in 2024. Who is Jason Puckett?
Steelers -6. Book it.
It's a bad bet. The Sharps are on the Giants tonight.
Oh, the Sharps, the public is all on the Steelers. But remember, this public isn't right. Yeah, when 90% of the public bets on one thing, and it usually comes through. But
go ahead and talk to Booth and Crabtree. They know more about those Seahawks and what happened
all right.
yesterday.
See you later. We'll talk to you on Wednesday.
All right, go Cougs.
Go Cougs. There he is, Jim Moore, with us every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. That's right. We've got to turn our attention now to the Ground Puck Seahawks podcast with Tim Booth and Curtis Crabtee, who have been in the backstage laughing their asses off. It's all brought to you by Georgetown Brewery, locally owned and operated by two diehard Huskies. Manny and Roger, they've been pouring the best local craft beer for the past 23 years, makers of Manny's Pale Ale, Bodie's Off the IPA, host of your other favorite brews, by the way. Tap room is open 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. 7 days a week. Visit them at georgetownbeer.com. Tim Booth, Seattle Times, Curtis Crabtee, Fox 13, Ground Puck Seahawks podcast here on Mondays. Gentlemen, welcome in. Tim, do you like the bet? Do you like the Steelers -6 tonight? Is Russell Wilson officially back?
He's not back until Mr. Unlimited comes back officially. But the fact that he's making cheesy ass videos with his wife again on the Roberto Clemente Bridge, that does give you somewhat of an indication that maybe Russell is back a little bit. But is the game in Pittsburgh or is it in New York?
Oh, well, it's in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I probably would have taken the Steelers in the 6 and laid the points there.
Curtis, is he back?
You know what the difference between the Steelers and the Seahawks are? Steelers have a defense, and that should be plenty for.
Wow,
that should be plenty for the Giants in that one tonight.
Does he have a catchphrase yet? Do we know?
I don't. I'm aware of. It seems like he turned down having one on the broadcast last week, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he's maybe this is the one area where he's wised up. But again, national TV audience tonight. If he has a good game, I'm sure it'll be like Steelers country. Let's forge metal or something like that.
Or steel up, maybe a steel up or something like that. Yeah. You touched on it, Curtis. Jump right into the defense. Jim and I went over the stats from last year, now compared to this year. I mean, we now have, this is a good time to, I think, evaluate the entire team, right? It's after 8 games. They're 4-4. Their defense in every statistical category has not improved from a year ago. They still can't stop the run. Total yards basically the same. Points given up the same. He was brought in here, was Mike Macdonald, to fix the defense, and so far he hasn't been able to do that.
Statistically, yesterday they finished with no sacks, no tackles for loss, no quarterback hits, allowed 440 some yards. You had 2 of those obviously negated via penalty with the Boye Mafe strip sack and the Derek Hall hit that led to the penalty and all of that. But yeah, they have their issues still on that side of the football for sure. And you're throwing a linebacker in Ernest Jones in his first game and leads them with 15 tackles, but even still, I don't think everything fit together necessarily perfect on that side of the ball. Defensive line had, I thought, a little bit more issues yesterday. Setting the edge at times and keeping the run game kind of kept in where it needs to be. And it's still a work in progress for them. They are not, it seems like we're a very, very, very long way away from the 3-0 start to the season. That's for sure.
Tim, your evaluation of what we've seen so far through 8 games with the defense.
I think the disappointing thing is Mike was brought in because of not only because he is a extremely smart defensive mind, but he's extremely creative. And there were things that, again, personnel matters, but there were things that they did in Baltimore which put guys with unique skills into positions to let them thrive and allow them to cause disruption in a way that they hadn't in other places in their career or other times in their careers. Kyle Van Noy, Jadeveon Clowney last year with his resurgence. Like, guys, he found a way to put those guys into places where they were impactful and disruptive defensive players. And it feels like this defense since week 1 has gotten more and more bland and more plain. And some of that some of the unique coverages and the unique disguising and the unique blitzes and the pressures, some of those things that he was known for and was talked about throughout the offseason seem like they have gotten less and less evident and less a part of the defensive game plan. And when your fundamentals are as poor as they have been when it comes to simple things like stopping the run, I think it's led to some of those things being dialed back, and it's made this defense not only not very good fundamentally in doing the basics, but also not dynamic and not disruptive in the way that everyone was hoping it was going to be during the offseason and during the transition. Like, where's Devin Witherspoon as a blitzer? Where is Devin Witherspoon as being the Kyle Hamilton of the Seahawks defense? It just feels like it's a very plain, mediocre unit right now. And as this is a criticism of Mike, but it doesn't feel like he's scheming it up in a way to allow them to make up for some of their deficiencies by being, more disruptive and more dynamic in some of the ways that we saw him do with the Ravens.
Yeah, they just, God, Curtis, to give me those stats, I think I glossed over that, just the pressures and the sacks and the TFLs. They just were never a factor at all, whether it was stopping Cook and Davis in the running game or even, Allen to that degree. But in the passing game, he just never once yesterday was under any type of duress at all.
Not really. And the couple times they did, they obviously made penalties to wipe those out. But yeah, it comes back to the same thing we talked about at the start of the season, line of scrimmage, man. Like, I think one of the reasons they aren't as dynamic on defense is because they're giving up as much as they are on the ground on the first and second down plays, to where they're not facing that many third and long situations where they can get super exotic and, bring pressures and do some compared to other teams, do that stuff as regularly as you might want to see. I mean, look at that first drive of the game. Buffalo essentially goes 110 yards on them, that opening drive, after the 3 offensive penalties, straight down the field. The longest third down they had, they only had one third down that was longer than 3rd and 4 to face. It was the 3rd and 8 one. So they basically just stayed on schedule all the way down the field on Seattle, did both run and pass, did everything they wanted on them, and marched it straight up them, for an opening score. So, not what you want to see. And when you're losing the line of scrimmage on both sides of the football, the way that they are, it makes it really tough to try to kind of be able to compete at the level you want to and do all of the things you're hoping to be able to do schematically, because you're just losing the physical battle.
What did you guys think, Tim? You go first. What did you think of just the way they handled themselves yesterday? I mean, it's you've got the. And again, I understand tempers flare. I'm not going to make too big of a deal with Jaron Reed and Derek Hall, other than just to say you normally don't see, two things. Normally you don't see it happen on the field. It's usually on the sideline. And They had another issue on the sideline. The best part of that, though, was the peacemaker and all of that was a Buffalo Bills offensive lineman. That was the highlight of the game for me, that a guy on the opposing team was the one who broke it up between two teammates going after. Hey, fellas, what are we doing here? Why don't you guys go back to your huddle and make up? But you got that. You've got Geno throwing the football at someone, at a defender. You got Geno barking it at Lockett and JSN inside the 5-yard line. He appears to be crying on the sideline. It's just, I'll play the video for you. I don't know if you noticed it, but I thought, Riq Woolen's effort on the Kincaid touchdown was, surprising. It just, I don't know. They just came unloose yesterday. Tim?
I don't know if it was unloose. I thought effort was poor, and I thought the Woolen play was kind of, I noticed that it in real time. Like, Riq didn't make much of an effort there to try and tackle him from behind. It was like once Kincaid got a step on him on that little route in cut, it was like, oh, okay, I can't tackle him, and it almost looked like he shoved him into the end zone. Honestly.
Well, he did. I got into a debate like if you're listening, we're playing it on the video. Go back and watch it later. But he shoves him in the back. It's unbelievable. But he didn't seem right, Tim, that he gave much effort on that play.
And I just think it in a broader sense. It was like all the frustration that we feel privately at times for various things in our lives or in our professions. We're all pretty good about keeping that in expressing it in a private setting where you don't have 69,000 people plus, a television audience watching. And it was like all of the frustration that the Seahawks had about how bad yesterday was going all bubbled up in a very public setting. I don't have an issue with I don't have an issue with, frankly, any of it. Like, you should be frustrated and pissed off at the way you played. You should be with how that game was going. Geno should be barking at Lockett for false start. I think it was down in near the red zone, low red zone. He should, I got no problem with Hall and Reed going at it, because Hall should be called out for making a dumbass play in that moment and even risking the chance of hitting Allen when it was clear that there was a flag thrown and he was throwing the ball away. Like, the amount of disappointment and frustration about the way they played yesterday, I think the outward expressions that we saw of it, in some ways, I think it's a good thing, because it shows that these guys are actually pissed off about what they were putting out there yesterday, and that it's not acceptable to them.
Curtis?
Yeah, I mean, that's four losses in 5 games, right? Like, all things considered, like, it's a pretty bad stretch that they're on, and I think that can kind of catch up to you to where you see what happens with Reed and Hall, and nothing overly wild on that standpoint. We've seen that plenty of times before in the NFL. It's not anything to get too worked up about. But yeah, I mean, they're just not playing good enough football right now, collectively long enough, and you see that frustration kind of boil to the surface a little bit. And with the mistakes they made yesterday, I mean, that's basically all I wrote about last night, was this game just comes down to Seattle's on mistakes. You talk about the couple snaps issues with Connor Williams, and then that play with Dariq Hall. I mean, they basically lost 14 points thereabouts in the wash with plays, that happened there, allowing the extra 4 points to happen to Buffalo after the Hall personal foul, and then the 2 lost opportunities at touchdowns down in their own end with snap issues and everything. So just really sloppy game for them, and they don't have the margin of error to be that kind of sloppy and still manage to dig themselves out of the hole. And they've been playing from behind a lot recently, and they don't quite have the ceiling, the ability to do that often to that extent against good teams like Buffalo.
Well, Curtis, what did you think of Geno's just body language? And this isn't just this last game, but it's been several games where he's just had this, after getting stepped on, he's running off the field, shaking his head, not wanting to talk to anyone. I mentioned before, it appears that it looks like he's crying or very emotional on the sideline. We touched in on the, barking at Lockett and JSN when they were in the red zone, but just the overall body language, from him. And I think he even had, I don't know if you asked a question in the postgame last night about getting stepped on, but he was kind of short. Was it Condotta? He was kind of short with that one. But what do you make overall of him and of his body language in the last few games? Big deal or not?
It doesn't bother me. That's not saying it can't bother others, but it doesn't. I don't think it's that big of a deal. I mean, he clearly still cares, even if his emotions might manifest in a slightly different way than some other people's could. Yeah, I don't know that it's that. I don't know if it's that big of a deal or not, but. Obviously, look, Geno wants to win, man.
Sure.
He does. And to have the game go sideways in the way that it did, like, those are plays that you feel like are completely out of your control. It's not like when you're seeing a ball fly 15 feet over your head for a 25-yard loss when you're right on the doorstep, and then the very next time you're down there to have the play where Connor Williams steps on his foot in the snapping process there, not being able to get out of center and having another opportunity slip away from you. That's just, I can understand where the frustration comes through in that specific moment. So if others want to be more critical of that, I mean, I don't think it's unfair to necessarily do so, but it doesn't rankle me all that much personally when I look at it.
As bad as they played, Tim, you look at like a few plays, at least just stand out to me. I mean, everyone's going to have the plays that stand out to everyone, but I think we all agree on the, you settle for a field goal when you're inside, the 5-yard line. You can't punch it in. After the interception to Job, you get nothing, right? You get stuffed, or you not get stuffed, but he gets stepped on. And then I look at and I can't remember. I asked this earlier, and I still can't remember. When Allen fumbled the football and kicked it, was that at the end of the first half on that drive, or was it in the third quarter?
It was late first half, but it was outside the 2-minute window. If that had been inside the 2-minute window, the fumble would have gone back to the spot of where he fumbled it. But because it was outside,
oh, really?
Yes, it's the Dave Casper holy roller rule from back in the 70s with the Raiders.
Yeah.
If it had been outside of 2 minutes, or inside of 2 minutes, the fumble would have gone back to where he dropped it, which would have been short of the first down as it was. But I think it was somewhere around 4 minutes left in the first half.
3 minutes, 2:55 was when.
So it's the last. So it's the last drive of that half. My point is, you think about football and sports. There's an element of luck.
Yeah.
I mean, how many times the guy kicks it and it goes right to another player, and the Seahawks get the ball there, and again, it's 7-3 with another chance to have a drive and take the lead or get a field goal, pull within one, and you're looking, clearly, Tim, a much different football game.
Yeah, I mean, of course, there's those bounces and there's those those lucky breaks or whatever that go a team's way that obviously play into the success that a team is going to have in a game, especially in a day when statistically you end up being so lopsidedly routed. You need a break like that. You need a Josh Jobe to come up with a pick and return it to the 7-yard line and actually cash in on it. You need a Josh Allen fumble to end up in your hands and not bounce right to a Bills player. They just, they got some very unlucky, unfortunate bounces or plays yesterday. If Connor Williams snaps it to Geno and they punch it in there, totally different game.
Yeah.
If the offensive line gets any sort of push on 3rd and goal at the 1 for Kenneth Walker to get into the end zone and help my fantasy team in the process, the 4th down play where Geno trips never happens, clearly. So, there's just, it's the butterfly effect of sports. Like you're in a game, one thing happens and all these other elements or all these other moments happen based off of that one thing that goes your way or doesn't go your way. And it seemed like all of them sort of went against Seattle yesterday.
Curtis, do you think they've just flat out just given up on the running game because they say to themselves, we just can't run the ball? We cannot block it. So why am I going to sit there and just run them into a wall of guys every single time?
Well, I could certainly see some of that. I mean, they had was an average of 1.9 yards per carry yesterday, and that's with the 16 yards on 5 carries that Geno had scrambling. I mean, if you combine just the running backs, you've got 12 carries for 16 yards, averaging 1.3 yards a rush. I mean, they did nothing on the ground. And that's just, at that point, you're putting everything in Geno's hands. And for an offensive line that has shown it is continuing to have issues protecting him regularly, I don't care what quarterback you're putting in there. You can put the guy who was upstairs in the broadcast booth yesterday back there, and he ain't doing much better either, like, given the circumstances they're playing with right now. They need to find some way to get better push on the offensive line, create some running room for these guys. I mean, think back to the games where they did have some success running this year and how much we marveled at Ken Walker making things out of nothing in some of those circumstances, because it hasn't been blocked there, a good chunk of the time. So, yeah, it's basically rely on Geno to move the football for him. And then when he did yesterday, it ended up in a calamity at the end of those drives because of the various things we already talked about. He put together a couple very, very nice drives from the one that, to get him down there, and you basically come away with nothing both times outside of the one field goal. And you get one touchdown there. It looks a little bit different. You cash in after the Jobe interception. You could somehow be leading that game despite being, woefully offset in the yardage and the time of possession and all of those stats and all those things. So you had a chance to find a way to be right there, and you missed those opportunities, and things went awry, and you couldn't do it multiple times yesterday to bail them out.
Just live in let's live in a hypothetical revisionist world, Tim. They go, and I thought, and I turned to my brother and said this, and I was like, man, that's like one of the best drives I've seen from an offensive coordinator. That drive where they ended up with just 3 was a clinic. I mean, they had them off balance, different plays, different looks. It was beautiful. And then it results just in 3 points. But, Tim, let's live in a hypothetical world. They score there. It's 10-7. Right? They throw the pick. You score, and again, all of a sudden 17-7. I mean, it was remarkable how much different the game would look. But, I don't know if you or Curtis said it earlier, but they're not talented enough to walk that fine line.
Oh, not at all. I think that's – in some ways – you know, I don't want to compare it entirely with 2010 when Pete came in, but in some ways we are seeing similarities between the two, because you know that team that Pete inherited and John and him made 10,000 roster moves to try and put together a competitive team. They were competitive that first year, obviously, by winning the division at 7-9, but there was no depth. There was nothing behind those front line, those first 22 guys that they rolled out there, and it feels like this team should have more depth. This team should have more talent, but we're not seeing it. And so in that way, it feels like it's a very heavily loaded. You've got offensive line notwithstanding, you have 22 guys who can play, and then beyond that, you maybe got like 5 more, and that's sort of the depth of your team. Which goes back to the idea of they are writing such a thin margin right now of what leads to success versus what doesn't, and you can't make dumbass mistakes with penalties, turnovers, bad snaps, whatever. Those just amplify and quickly snowball into kind of what we saw yesterday.
So what I mean, I don't know. What do they do moving forward, Curtis? If they can't run the football, and again, I know the Bills, defensive front is very good, but if they can't run the football, do they just try to get Ken Walker involved more in the passing game? He's good out of the backfield. He's good at catching screens, good at catching flat passes. I mean, the best running play they have, Curtis, is what they did yesterday, where they try to do that pitch and then they fumble it and back in the in the backfield, and then he picks it up and runs around. That's their best play. So I think maybe they should just do that more consistently, just have a broken play and, hey, Walker, just find something. But how do you get him more involved in the offense? You just use him in the passing game?
You probably have to. I mean, look, I think 80% of this team's problems is the offensive line. Truly, that's most of what their issue is. And it's the fact that they have so many issues up front that the running game is affected. It leads to the passing situations where Geno's under pressure. The guard play has not been great. You've obviously, there was nothing, Connor Williams made the mistake with the snap. Sure. It's not like there was a lack of effort or something. Ball got away from him. Same thing on the snap at the goal line. He stepped. That's pretty much, I think, his technique he's supposed to do on that play. It just so happens his step that he takes is right on top of Geno's shoe. That's just, it went awry on him. And that's kind of the way the offensive line's going. Even when they're trying to do things well, it's not right now. And maybe that changes if Abe Lucas is able to get back to add a little bit of piece there. Maybe at that point they can try throwing Jason Peters in at guard and see if that can kind of change things a little bit as well. I do think they have a couple options to consider coming out of the bye week here. If Abe's going to be back healthy, George Fant gets back in the lineup. That gives them, I think we're forgetting the fact they are down to their fourth string right tackle right now in Mike Jarrell compared to what they started the season with. So most of the focus has got to be there and figuring out some way to make that floor rise, because that's, the struggles of the offense then means the defense has to be on the field more. I think that's why I say 80% of it's on the offensive line, is because I think it's all a trickle down from the fact that the offensive line play has been as porous as it has been.
Go ahead, Tim.
I was just going to jump in really quick. This is where Ryan Grubb's got to be more creative. Kind of like what we were talking about earlier with Macdonald and some of the creativity that he was able to show in Baltimore. Yeah. This is where Ryan Grubb's got to get paid, or make his money. Just figure out a way to at least make the run game respectable, or a semblance of the run game, knowing the limitations that you have based around how bad your offensive line is right now. And if that means, some of those quick, short motion, quick screen kind of things to Ken Walker and get him outside. Maybe it's doing more. One thing I noticed yesterday with Buffalo was they were really good early on at just throwing a couple of quick screens to Khalil Shakir and letting him and just letting him go in space. And if nothing else, it just, anytime Seattle saw that formation from then on out, they had to think, oh, is this going to be a quick screen? And maybe that opened things up for James Cook in the run game from there. Just think of things in a little bit more of a creative way of how to get your playmakers opportunities in space to see if it at all will allow more of that interior run game to sort of develop based around, what else you're doing. Because it just doesn't, running between the tackles just is not working for this team. to your point, Puck, Kenneth Walker's drop the pitch and then pick it up and run across the field. That was his longest run yesterday. It was 5 yards. Like that should not be the foundations of your run game, is that play right there. This as much as, yes, the offensive line is not good and they are a anchor that's pulling this entire offense down right now. This also has to go back to Ryan Grubb and Scott Huff to an extent and say, okay, you guys were really creative in doing some unique things at Washington. Now we need to see it actually show up here in Seattle, because we have these limitations and they're not going away, at least for one more game, and probably not for for the rest of the season. Let's see you make your money now and come up with some new ways to make this thing work.
And it's been a while. Yeah, go ahead, Curtis.
I was going to say, look, they had the couple middle screens that they ran there. I think it was even on that drive we talked about earlier that looked like they were both there and pretty successful. They come out in the third quarter, try to run another screen, and that's the play where Geno gets picked off when they haven't really covered. So, like, yesterday they just didn't have it, man. The Bills had answers for everything they were trying to do.
Yeah, and then it's a weird thing is like this Jekyll and Hyde here of this football team, right? It's 1 week, and it's a roller coaster. One week they look good, this week they look bad. To me, it's been like this for the whole NFL season. By the way, I mean, you just look at yesterday in the NFL. I mean, the Browns beating the Ravens. Patriots beating the Jets. I mean, not the Jets are any good, but I'm just, it's like things that are just happen in this league, especially in the NFCs. There's no team other than the Lions, and then I think we can probably throw in the Niners if they can get healthy, if McCaffrey ever does come back, where those are the two teams. Other than that, no one is significantly better really than Seattle, at least I don't think. So, I don't know what to expect this week from them. I mean, I think anybody can see them going out and beating the Rams. And then all of a sudden, I don't know, they beat the Rams, they're 5-4. Tim, they go into the break, they go into the bye week, where they face the Niners, and who knows what happens this week. I know Niners are off this week, I think, right?
Yes.
And then, so God, I mean, you're right there. They haven't lost anything yet, Tim.
I was talking with someone last night after the game, and we were commenting about how at that point the Niners were down, I think 10-0 to the Cowboys. But we were commenting the idea of like your NFC West leaders after last night. Mm-hmm. Based around the first half of that Sunday night game, could have been Arizona and Seattle both at 4-4, with the Niners at 3-5, and this thing careening toward an 8-9 team winning the NFC West. Like even now with all three of those teams at 4-4, that's a very real possibility, because yes, San Francisco should be the best of all four teams in the division, but you're right, they've got so many injury issues that eventually, if McCaffrey doesn't come back, you would think it's going to catch up with them, further down the road as the season progresses. And, Jordan Mason's got his issues and everything. And so you're right. Like this has been a very bipolar season from teams in the NFC, especially. Like the only thing you can really count on is Kansas City. Like otherwise, everything else has just been sort of all over the place. So, yeah, you beat the Rams, you go into the bye at 5-4, you come out maybe healthier than you've been, all season at that point. And especially if you're getting in a couple guys back on the offensive line, I mean, sure, anything's possible. I mean, that the way the post bye starts with San Francisco, Arizona, and then going to the Jets, I don't know, it doesn't look quite as daunting as maybe you felt beforehand. I don't. Again, it kind of describes this entire season. Like it's just all over the place. You have no basis to know what you're going to get on a week-to-week basis. If they play like they did against Atlanta, they're going to steamroll the Rams. I don't think the Rams are a great team, but they play like they did yesterday. Cooper Kupp's going to have, and Puka Nacua are going to have like 35 catches between them.
There it is. Wrap it up. The Ground Puck Seahawks podcast. Tim Booth, Seattle Times. Curtis Crabtee of Fox 13. Check out those guys' work. Please, it's all brought to you by Georgetown Brewery, locally owned and operated. Two diehard Huskies, Manny and Raj, have been pouring the best craft beer for the past 23 years. Tap room is open 10 a.m. to 8 p.m., 7 days a week. Go visit georgetownbeer.com. You can find this episode up on YouTube. Also, check it out on Apple and Spotify, wherever you find your podcast. And, of course, up at pucksports.com. Gentlemen, we'll talk next week. Appreciate it.
See you, Puck.
There they are, Curtis Crabtree, Tim Booth. Again, big thanks to them. Big thanks to Georgetown Brewery joining me every Monday at 11 o'clock to talk Seahawks. And, again, not all is – I mean, listen, they looked like crap yesterday. They just did. I didn't think they'd win the game. I thought they'd lose. I didn't really think they'd lose in that fashion. I think things snowballed on them. But, again, God, I mean, it's just a play here or there that if they execute better. And I mean, honestly, you can envision in an alternate universe, right? In some alternate universe, you can envision them punching it in. It's 10-7, then the interception, they score again. And now it's 17-7. And now I sound like a Husky fan because we've outgained everybody. That's a shot, I know. But they weren't as bad as they played. There were a few things that could have gone their way, and they kind of a part in making it go their way. But again, I just didn't go into that game. I was looking for a split. It would have been gravy if they got both. Talk to me. We'll talk next week. If they lose to the Rams, then, they're 4-5 and you got some real issues. But if they beat the Rams next week, they go 5-4. And all of a sudden now you got the bye and lead up there for the Niners. I'll take it. But they've got to figure some stuff out. I don't like the body language of the team. I don't. And I think that does come down on coaching a little bit. I'm just not a big fan of how they have looked. I don't like how the quarterback has looked on the sideline. I just don't. I know maybe we make too much of it and all that. And Geno, for the most part, has been great. I don't like the kind of look like I'm crying on the sideline and all that. I don't know. I just think it's a little too much for me. All right, let's wrap up the Daily Puck Drop with, of course, we do it all the time, and that is the wonderful Hey, What the Puck, brought to you by Restoration One in North Seattle, your restoration company that lets you avoid the stress of water, fire, and mold damage with their property restoration services. Locally owned and operated. Make them your first call when damages affect your residential or commercial property. 206-817-8917. Visit them online, restoration1.com, the North Seattle franchise. If you're listening back to this on the podcast, whether or watching it on YouTube or listening on Apple and Spotify and wherever you find your podcasts. Again, just want to remind people, because I got it this weekend. Hey, love the podcast. Would be cool if you did it live. I'm like, we do it live. I always think it's worth reminding people that we do go live every single day at 10 a.m. because a lot of people, you guys are busy. You miss stuff. You don't know what's going on all the time. And not everyone's on Twitter, by the way. But again, if you have an Apple device, Puck Sports mobile app, you can also listen to the show. We go live every day on the app there at 10 a.m. Android users, I sent out the link on Puck 2040. I don't know how many we've had. The first 10 that sign up going to get a gift card from George from John Howie Steak. We need to test out again. We need some beta testers to continue to test out the Google app for Android users. And that's the last step, and then it will be available in the Google Play Store. So go there. Puck 2040 on Twitter is the link. When you click on it, you've got to give your email. You're not going to get any spam. You just need your email to be able to, for Jacob, our app guy, to sign you up and to give you permission to start beta testing the app and give us any feedback that you can on it. But again, just a reminder, we go live every day at 10 a.m. And of course, then everything's podcast later. Just for those listening later, because many of you don't listen live and you listen later. At 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock. I mean, there's nothing going on at 3 o'clock in this town anyway. So go ahead and listen to it then. But you can, again, all those platforms, you can listen to the show later. But we do go live every day, 10 a.m., YouTube, Twitter, and the Puck Sports mobile app, which you can download today. All right, we're wrapping it up, and with Hey, What the Puck, again, brought to you by Restoration One in North Seattle. We touched on it a little bit earlier, and I want to just bring it up again, and I'm going to bring it up tomorrow. I think Jake Dickert's going to join us again tomorrow. There was a lot of people, and I got this after the game, and I think these were from Coug fans, by the way, who were saying you can't talk, and he apologized, by the way, to Dean Janikowski, and he apologized. I don't know if he apologized to John Mateer, but he did to Janikowski. You can't yell at kids like that? Why? Why can't you? They're adults, by the way. Okay. And we call them kids. And I agree. They're kids to agree, but they're 22 and 23 years of age. And when, they're not pros. I mean, I guess they're not amateur athletes anymore, by the way. That's the other thing. They're not amateur athletes anymore. They're being paid now. I think a coach, and even if they were amateur athletes still and weren't being paid, I still think he can do what he did on Saturday. If someone makes a mistake, there's different ways to approach it. But if someone makes a boneheaded mistake, then I think you can go after him. You have every right to go after him and to chew someone's ass out. It's okay in today's culture and climate, if you're a coach, to chew someone's ass out. And just because it gets seen by thousands and, oh, God, we can't do that anymore. Yes, you can. It's sports. Not everything is, hey, Billy. Hey, Christy, it's okay. Don't worry about it, but let's not make that mistake again. And sometimes you got to get on someone. And those two instances were pivotal, plays in the game. I mean, if he didn't get roughed or what have you, I mean, you can't have your kicker getting a personal foul penalty. It just can't happen. And then for Mateer, I would say this. I don't know what he was trying to do. It was kind of like a half slide thing, but he needed to put his shoulder down and get the first down. That's the ball game. We're not worried about an injury there. You got to stick it down, and you're the most physical player on the field for the pound for pound. I think we get too sensitive in this day and age of 2024 about seeing coaches yell at players. And because I don't know why it has changed, but sometimes you need to get a little red ass in you and chew somebody out. And just because it gets caught on video, we don't need to be horrified by it. I go back to 2 years or 3 years ago with Jimmy Lake. I mean, I know there was other incidents why Jimmy Lake was removed from Washington or lost his job, but that's the play, grabbing the face mask that sparked it. He did absolutely nothing wrong in that situation. He did everything right as a head coach. He's got every right to act like that. All right, that's it. That's my soapbox. Sorry. Hey, What the Puck, again, brought to you by Restoration One in North Seattle. Your restoration company lets you avoid the stress of water, fire, and mold damage with their property restoration services. Locally owned and operated. Make them your first call when damages affect your residential or commercial property. 206-817-8917. Visit them online, restoration1.com. All right. That's it for a Monday show. Again, everything will be up later on YouTube. You can listen to it on your podcast platforms, whether it's Apple, Spotify, Amazon, YouTube Music, wherever you find your podcast, and, of course, up at pucksports.com. Please, for you podcast users, whether it's on YouTube or the audio platforms, please continue to like and subscribe and leave comments. Please, it helps us here at Puck Sports. We will talk to you tomorrow. Tuesday's show, John Canzano stops on by. We'll talk all things college football. Cougs ranked for the first time. Washington, where are they at right now at 4-4, gearing up for USC. Oregon looked great against Illinois. A bunch of topics to cover with John coming up tomorrow. Also, Danny Kelly of The Ringer, as we talk NFL storylines, Seahawks, fantasy football there with Danny Kelly from The Ringer coming up on tomorrow's program. We will talk to you tomorrow. As always, we promise to be better.
No, die, so.
Would anybody like to smoke some pot?
Yeah. I was born to love you. I was born to lick your face. I was born to rub you. But you were born to rub me first.
What do you need my address for? We'd like to send out a mailer.
Mother of mercy, I don't speak Japanese!